This podcast is brought to you by the Deluxe Edition Network. To find more great shows on our network, head over to theden.show.
And we're back.
Reminds you of summer.
No bitterness.
It's a very good beach beer.
Take on the world, one beer at a time. What is going on? And welcome to Take on the World with
Lexi
and Mike D and no Johnny. And his microphone's in my way, so put it down.
Goodbye, Johnny.
Bye, Johnny.
Bye.
Get your ugly microphone out of my way. So Johnny couldn't make it. He had a couple trips the last weekend, and we are taping on a weeknight, and everybody knows he's got school the next day.
Of course.
And he can't be out on a school night. His mommy won't let him.
My parents let me do whatever I want on a school night.
Your parents are awesome.
Yeah, my parents are really cool.
You're really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing here, well, let me, since you haven't been here for a little bit, because you're always fucking working anymore.
I am.
It sucks.
I've worked like 2 7 or 6 day weeks, like back to back for the past couple weeks. And then last week and this week, I finally had my 2 days off in a row. And now next week's the holiday. I'm going to be gone for New Year's. And then I'm also going to see Eric in February. So
You suck a lot.
I also think I'm going to Alaska in June.
Really?
Yes.
Where in Alaska?
I forget exactly how to say it.
Fairbanks.
No. It's like in a little island. One of my friends lives over there.
You don't have any friends.
There's this guy that I know.
Okay, that's better.
These people that I know live over there. But I found a really affordable Airbnb in the area. It's like $66 or $70 a night or something like that. So I'm going to book the Airbnb sometime coming up in the next 2 weeks. And then...
So we're going to have to do a couple episodes on mysterious deaths and disappearances from Alaska.
Yes, that would be amazing. I would actually love
I
that.
actually have an excellent one for that. And
then
you know it, but you may not know the Alaska story.
Okay.
So, but you know the serial killer.
I think I know who you might be talking about. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm kind of planning some trips and stuff, get myself not very long ones. Like I'm going to North Carolina for maybe like 4 days or so, 3 or 4 days. And then the trip to Alaska is 3 days total.
I'll think about driving down to Florida to dive with sharks.
That'd be really cool.
I really want to do that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. But that's all.
But since you haven't been here
so.
and you suck and you work a lot on the weekends, I hooked up with my buddy Casey, and we are on the Den Network, Deluxe Edition Network.
Yes.
It's a bunch of podcasts, all great podcasts. A few of them are pretty highly ranked on iTunes, which is cool.
Yeah.
Casey's in the Deluxe Edition's in the top 200 now.
Nice.
Which is really good.
That's really good, yeah.
It's better than being top 5,000 at 4,999.
Yep.
But anyway, every month they have a spotlight podcast, and it just so happens that this month, the month of December, is drumroll, Take on the World.
What?
Yes.
Okay. Now I kind of feel bad that like I didn't.
Yeah, I feel bad too.
That I didn't make out like an entire list of things like you did. I just kind of was like 12 to 1. Where do I rank these movies that I like?
So check out the den.show.
Absolutely.
On your Instagram and your Facebook, find the podcasts that are on there, give them a like. Everybody's real supportive of each other, which is really cool. It's all about putting good content forward and supporting other guys who have great content. And, not all the stuff is like the one's a real estate thing, and I'm not really into real estate, but, in his genre, he does a great job and people are enjoying it, and that's great.
A little bit for everyone.
Yeah. The one show I was listening to was Horsing Around. I was listening, actually on the way home, I listened to it. They gave us a nice shout out for the month, and they're hilarious.
Yeah,
they're funny. I think you would like listening to them. You should check them out.
I should. I'm almost finished with the podcast that I've been listening to. It's a D&D podcast, and they finished their campaign. Like they put their last episode out, so then I went back and I listened to the episodes to catch up so that I can listen to their finale. And I am less than 10 episodes away from the finale now.
Okay.
So as soon as that's done, I will have so much time to listen to other podcasts.
Well, the other one that was November's, and I'm just going to pump them up again, was Highly Judgmental.
Okay.
They do some sports stuff, which a lot of it was football, which I don't watch football anymore. But they also do music stuff, which I think, and I think Johnny, because Johnny's into music, the way you are, I think that you would really like that. So check them out.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
So, looking over there, wondering what the heck is on the floor over there.
I spilled resin.
Oh, I see.
I had to sand it.
Okay. So this week we wanted to get this in because I wanted to do the 12 movies of Christmas.
Oh, by the way, guys, Christmas is next Saturday.
Yeah.
We have a week. Not
so-
to put any pressure on anybody.
Yeah. Anyway, not necessarily 12 Christmas movies, but 12 movies that we kind of correlate with the Christmas season. My number one is absolutely a Christmas movie. It's the best Christmas movie that was ever made.
Uh-huh. I
But-
think you're going to disagree once you see my number one.
So the point was everybody has their own holiday traditions. You know, it could be putting up the tree the day after Thanksgiving, or it could be Uncle Kenny drinking too much eggnog and passing out on the living room floor,
Or Lexi.
or Lexi. Or it could be a Christmas party where there's always at least one fight and a major misuse of the ladies' bathroom. That one person who was involved in that was voted Employee of the Year for 5 years running after
I don't
left
know how
employment.
Well, whatever. We don't know.
It could be. I mean, just hypothetically.
Could be anything.
It could be. But for me, I'm a movie buff. So I relate the holidays to movies. Some of them are shown during the Christmas season. Others just because the Christmas break allowed me to rewatch a movie that I love or two. I'm going to be clear. Hallmark movies do not count.
I didn't put any Hallmark movies on here, but I do have. I don't think it's a Hallmark movie. Maybe it's not Hallmark, but it is one of those types of movies in my honorable mention.
Okay. That's allowed because it's not on your list. If you've ever seen a Hallmark movie, if you've never seen a Hallmark movie, good for you. If you have seen one, then you've seen all of them.
Yes.
Because they're all the exact same thing. They just change the actors and the scenery, add a holiday or take a holiday away or some sort of festival, and boom, there's a Hallmark movie.
It's true.
So they don't count. This list is not going to be your conventional Christmas movie list, as I said. There's some good old standbys like A Christmas Story that did not make my list that I do watch every year. Mm-hmm. It's a Wonderful Life. Well, I watch it every year, and it's always part of my Christmas season. It's not on my list. My list is more of a nostalgia list.
Yeah.
Movies that when I watch them takes me back to a Christmas in the past or a reoccurring memory from Christmas.
Exactly.
So there was always this thing. It's technically still a thing. Sweeps Week, which was actually 4 weeks, and it was actually between. It's November and December,
Mm-hmm.
so it was like over Thanksgiving through the middle of December, and it was started by the A.C. Nielsen Company in 1954. Nielsen sent TV diaries to households across America and asked them to record the precise TV viewing habits for the week. Now with cable the way it is, they can tell what you're watching. They know how many people are watching.
Right.
So they don't send these books out anymore.
Oh, was that? Wait, you were saying that's a TV guide?
Not a TV guide. They sent you a pamphlet, and that pamphlet you would mark down in what you watched.
Oh, okay.
How long you watched it.
Oh.
Did you watch the full thing? Did you watch half of it?
Right.
Did you change the channel? What channel did you change to? So they wanted to know what people were watching, and that's how you get TV ratings. So when Nielsen would send those books out, a lot of the networks would have premium movies on. So you'd have a movie that maybe at that time, it just came out on HBO.
Okay.
And they would play it on regular TV, and it'd be like, oh my God, this movie's still on HBO, and we're getting to watch it. Well, now HBO movies are out like 2 weeks after they come out of theater. And, so things are different now. But anyway, they would put a premium movie on, or they'd put a movie on that had high ratings in the past to continue those high ratings for nostalgic purposes. Like the one movie I was talking about putting on that I did not. I might make it an honorable mention. In turn, the networks would have, it would boost their ratings, and then when the Nielsen books came out, people would mark that down. It would help these networks.
Right.
And it was the same time every year, and they sometimes did it twice a year or 3 times a year, but one of the times was between, like it would be like right before Thanksgiving, and it would end right before Christmas.
Right, like the times that a lot of people are off.
Yeah.
People have vacations. People are seeing family. They're all sitting around the TV.
So, we'll start at 12 movies now. I'm going to let you go first.
Okay.
Because ladies first.
So I just want to say that any movie on this list is interchangeable with Harry Potter because I wasn't really sure where to put Harry Potter.
And which movie?
Oh, any of them. I will watch all of them.
All of them?
I will watch all of them. They always play them on or around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And they're very good.
Yes.
So
now, if you
them.
hit one, I don't know which ones are on your list that are on my list. When you hit one that's on your list, I'm going to concur with giving that number, and then we'll kind of just skip over that number for me so we don't beat a dead horse to death.
Right, or since you have synopsises written out, you can just read the synopsis and whatever. Because everything on mine is just in my knowledge, in my brain knowledge. I'm John in it today. I have a list.
You spit what you can spit.
So for number 12 for me is A Christmas Story. It's honorable mention.
It is not on my list because it's beat to death.
Well, that's the problem is that for me, yours is a nostalgia list, so is mine. So for me, I just remember every Christmas Eve watching A Christmas Story over and over and over and over again until I went to bed. So that's why that one is number 12 for me. If you haven't seen A Christmas Story, I do recommend watching it. It is a classic. It's hilarious.
You haven't seen A Christmas Story, where the hell have you been?
Right.
You'll shoot your eye out.
It's essentially just a Christmas story. It's a story about a family that has 2 kids, 2 boys, going through Christmas.
But it's from the oldest son's perspective.
Right. So it's from his perspective. So I'll shoot your eye out. I'm not gonna, give away the whole movie, but I'll shoot your eye out comes from he wants a Winchester. No, it's the
Red Ryder.
Red Ryder BB gun.
Yes.
He wants a Red Ryder BB gun.
With?
Oh my gosh, it's with
you don't have to do that.
I can't remember exactly. But anyways, it's a Red Ryder BB gun. He wants it for Christmas, and he keeps having these dreams or I don't know, how kids see the world, a fantasy of you'll shoot your eye out, because this is what everybody's telling him. So he's seeing it from a kid's perspective, kind of, and They have a really interesting Christmas. It goes through, their Santa Claus photos, their dinner, everybody's gifts,
the neighbors,
weird predilections. I don't know. It's a really good movie, and it's a good older family movie. I would say it's kind of got that little bit of quirkiness for adults.
Yeah,
but it also has the whole
I enjoy the
story
movie.
told by a child, essentially, as a grown-up.
I enjoy the movie. I just think that I wanted to pick movies that wouldn't be on everybody's list.
Yes.
And I think
some of mine come to that, too. And then some of them are
because
classics.
that and It's a Wonderful Life,
yeah,
I don't miss when it's on.
Yeah.
I'll watch it. I don't watch it all day because it gets annoying.
Not anymore, but I used to.
But what was it? TNT used to run it all day or something like that.
TNT or Spike or something like that, one of those weird stations. Yeah. So that is my number 12. I think it's really good. I think the acting is really good, honestly. I think it's very, very good.
It is. It's just a well-done movie.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I just intentionally left it off my list.
No, and I understand that. For me, it's I said,
that's cool because
I have the first things that always comes to mind with Christmas.
I have a movie on here that's 100% nostalgia. When I think holidays, that's the movie I think.
Yeah, and that's kind of what that is for me.
Right.
So that's why it's my number 12. I love it. I adore it. I watch it every year. I own it on DVD. I have since I was a kid, or since DVDs came out, whatever. But that's why that one's on my list. It's my 12 because it's a cult classic. It's a staple for me, but interchangeable.
So one that I pull out every year, maybe not every year. I have not seen this for a couple of years. I'm not going to lie. But I remember when I was younger, we had it on VHS. And I would watch it, me and Rick, when we got together and watched horror movies. When we got around the holidays, this is one of the movies that we pulled out. And because it's me and Rick, it's a horror movie.
Right.
So Silent Night, Deadly Night. 1984 American psychological thrasher film. Slasher, not thrasher. The story of a young man named Billy who suffers through post-traumatic stress over witnessing his parents murdered on Christmas Eve by a man disguised as Santa Claus.
Insane.
So, and then he's brought up in an abusive Catholic orphanage, and there's just a lot of murder and mayhem ensue. Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's actually the last one I put on my list, literally, because I'm trying to think, what movie did I always watch around Christmas? Because I took two of the movies off my list and I put them on as honorable mention, simply because to me they're like A Christmas Story. They're like
right. You just watch them.
I watch them, and it's very very nostalgic for me.
Right.
But I wanted something else that like a little different, but that I always watched, and this is one of the movies I always watched.
Yeah. So
number 11 for you.
Number 11 for me, and number 10, but I'll only talk about 11 right now. They're movies that were always on around Thanksgiving or Christmas. I just associate with this time of year. I just always remember them being on. So number 11 for me is Gone with the Wind. And if you've never seen Gone with the Wind, what have you been doing with your entire life?
I've seen it multiple times.
Yep. Probably most of them on Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Yes. Probably.
Well, it's always on TV.
Well, your grandmother watched them.
Yes.
Around the holidays.
She always watched, because they were always on TV. So Gone with the Wind is a story about like 1930s or 19-something?
Isn't that
1900s?
Gone with the Wind?
Yeah.
Isn't that during Nazi Germany?
Oh, yes. So 1930s.
Yeah.
I was right.
So the rise of the Nazi Germany, so mid to late 30s?
Yeah. So it takes place in like the 1930s, and it's a richer couple, well-to-do, and it goes through their life. It's not even really a Christmas movie at all.
Not really, but the scenery reminds you of Christmas.
Yeah, well, because there's a lot of horseback riding. There's a lot of like Southern Belle type dresses, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would say this movie for me is interchangeable, and this is part of the reason that I just kind of did a rough outline of my list, is because a lot of them are kind of interchangeable for me. So this one would be interchangeable for me with the Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
Christmas movie. Speaking of Belle, because I remember watching that one a lot around this time as well, but that one was always I guess one that I watched on VHS. So it could have just been, I want to watch this movie today, and it just so happened that's what was on. Right. I always associate The Lion King with the last day of school, because I would watch it the last day of school when I got home, because we had a short day of school. Just the last day of school. Not just, but
we watched The Lion King a million times.
All times, I know. But that's I just associate it with that day because I always did it on that day. It just always happened.
I forgot to mention the podcast therapy dog.
Yeah, he's here now. He was walking around on the floor.
He doesn't come down when you're not here.
Yeah. He was walking around on the floor.
So my number 11 is a Christmas standard.
But it's too good for you to not put on.
Now, every time I watch this movie, I think of Jason. Reichert?
Yeah.
Because, this is his shit.
Yeah.
And I actually, when I was watching this the other day, because I watched it. It was just on.
It was on. We watched it, yeah.
And I texted him right away, and I'm like, hey, I'm watching this movie. Every time I watch this, it makes me think of you. And there are great lines in this movie.
Yeah.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, 1989.
So good.
And I would watch this anytime during the year.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I enjoy this one the most out of the vacation movie.
I definitely do, The only other one that I think I actually like is the road trip.
That's the first one. But actually, the Vegas one's a road trip as well. They're all kind of road trips.
They're
except for
going
this
to
one.
like Disney, like a Disney equivalent.
They were going to Wally World.
Wally World, yeah.
Yes.
Wally World.
John Candy was the security guard at Wally
Yes.
World. So that's the first one. That's just Vacation.
Yeah, I like Vacation and I like Christmas Vacation. I don't really think I'm too fond of the other ones. I don't like they don't
Vegas
hold any.
Vacation and European Vacation.
They just don't hold any like nostalgia or anything for me. Like I never really watched.
I'll
them.
watch them when they're on. There's some good lines from them. But
Yeah.
it's not like this one.
No, this one is like the classic, like my favorite.
So if you haven't seen this, I don't know who you are. I don't know how you listen to this show.
How have you ever looked at a TV?
Yes.
It's on all the time.
1989. It's an American comedy film. It's the third installment of the National Lampoon's magazine Vacation film series. Christmas Vacation was written by John Hughes, who based it on Christmas 59, a short story published in National Lampoon, the magazine.
Which makes sense.
Chevy Chase,
Chevy Chase.
Randy Quaid, Beverly D'Angelo are the main actors in this. Actors
Actors.
peoples. So Clark Griswold, who is Chevy Chase, is the perpetually optimistic and enthusiastic about the perfect family Christmas. Everything seems to go wrong, but it never got him down.
No.
Until he was counting on his yearly Christmas bonus from his employer to pay for the big surprise, which he had already ordered. So he was financially invested in it, an in-ground swimming pool for the family. But instead of a big fat bonus check, he gets, and this is a spoiler, so if you haven't seen this, the next 20 seconds, just skip forward. What he got was a 1-year subscription to the Jelly of the Month Club. And he snaps. And he says, all I want for Christmas is his boss brought there to his home in his pajamas, wrapped in a bow. And his good-natured, freeloading brother-in-law, Eddie, which is played by Randy Quaid,
Oh God,
does just that. So
it's so good.
the movie is funny from front to back, playing on suburbia stereotypes.
Yeah,
And it's just,
they had
it's hilarious. It's a hilarious movie.
2 kids. White picket fence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It plays on all the suburbia stereotypes.
it does.
Going out to cut your own tree down.
Yep,
Just everything. So that's my number 11.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I have to agree. That one did not make my list, but it's definitely still one of the ones that
Well,
I
when
just watch every year.
when I think of Christmas, that's the first. That's one of the first movies that pops in my head.
And that's like me with A Christmas Story. So, number 10 for me is also on your list.
Okay.
It's Blazing Saddles.
And how is it number 10?
How
Is it number 10?
It's number 10 because I always remember this movie because it reminds me of Pop.
So I will jump forward to
But
my number 4,
yeah,
Blazing Saddles.
yeah. But it's not one that like I seek out to watch all the time. It's not, you know what I mean?
do.
Like
If
I
it's
watch it.
If it's on, I'm watching it. The problem is, if you watch it now, it is not the same movie.
No.
They edit so much stuff out of this, and you want me to run down the synopsis?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say why it's on my list. Every year at Thanksgiving and Christmas, your mother's grandfather would pop this movie in,
Yeah.
and he would sit and watch this movie and laugh hysterically like he had never watched it before. So when he was here, it was on.
Yeah.
I always remember that. If you haven't seen this movie, it's really a shame because you're never going to see it in its full glory ever again.
No, unfortunately.
It is the most un-PC movie ever made, I believe, or close to it. If there is a group of people who are represented in this film, this movie pokes fun out of it in some way.
Yeah.
It was made in 1974. It's considered a Western black comedy. The movie was written by Richard Pryor, Mel Brooks, Norman Steinberg, Andrew Bergman, Al Unger, and it starred Cleavon Little, Gene Wilder, Slim Pickens,
Love Gene Wilder.
Harvey Korman, Mel Brooks. So it's like star-studded.
It's stacked.
It's stacked. And actually, I just found out, and it was just prior to me doing the research to this, that Richard Pryor was one of the writers. I didn't know that,
Okay.
but I listened to another podcast and they were talking about this movie and they mentioned Richard Pryor was the writer, which to me is crazy because I didn't know he actually wrote films. But this is not the only one he wrote.
Really?
No. So it's about a small town in the West where everybody who's white is named Johnson. The town is in the way of the railroad, so in an effort to grab the land from the townspeople, Hedley Lamar, who's a politically nasty person, sent his henchmen to scare the folks out of town. The sheriff was killed. The town demanded from the governor that they send a new sheriff to town. It was Governor Lampoon, who was played by Mel Brooks, and who was just a blibbering idiot. So they're making fun of every politician ever.
Yeah.
They're making fun of evil capitalists.
Yeah.
So this evil capitalist convinces Lampoon to send a black sheriff to the town in the West. He would be the first black sheriff ever in the West. This movie pokes fun at whites, blacks, cowboys, Indians, Nazis, Klansmen, Mexican, Chinese. There's no one safe from a stereotypical joke in this movie. And that's what I think makes it great. It's also why you'll never see it today.
Right.
Because so many people are butthurt if you say the wrong thing or show the wrong thing.
And I think the reason that, not that, I allow myself to like this movie, but the reason that I do still like this movie is because it's not poking fun at anyone in particular. It's everyone. Everyone is...
They drop the N-word in this movie an awful lot.
Yeah.
Which I've never been a fan of, but they do it in ways to actually highlight some of the bigotry from white people at the time.
Right.
In a comedical way. They also do it, who is it? Cleavon Little drops it constantly.
Yeah.
And he's the black sheriff. So
right. And not that it's any excuse or anything like that, which it shouldn't have to be because it's poking fun at everybody. But it was made in, 74, you said? 1970s? Yeah, 1974.
Yeah, 74.
And they're poking fun at a time before then.
Yes.
So, now, we look back and we poke fun at that time, essentially.
Yeah. And I think, that's why it's my number 4. And I remember that movie because it was always on in this house through the holidays.
Right.
Every time your mother's grandfather was here, that movie was on.
Mm-hmm.
And we all sat and watched it. We laughed at it.
Yep.
And I don't know how I don't know how that VHS tape wasn't worn out because it was on more than once a day.
Right. Oh man.
So my number 10 is Krampus. Now, I am going to say that this is not a great movie. It's a little lackluster. To be actually scary, but it harkens back to the heyday of the B movies, which I love so much. This reminds me of a modernized B movie.
Yeah.
And another thing, what I liked was Krampus is a Bavarian or German folktale.
Yep, folktale.
So, growing up with a German grandfather and a German grandmother and German great-grandparents and German everybody around me,
right?
I knew who Krampus was.
Yeah.
But, Hollywood never did. And it was a shame that Hollywood's, I found a couple movies where there's a mention of them.
Mm-hmm. They just never capitalized on that.
No, they didn't. And I think it would have been great horror fodder.
Absolutely.
If it was used properly.
Especially for that B list.
Yeah.
Could have really gotten some really good films on there.
Now, I'm sure there are some Krampus films out there, but Krampus was a Austro-Bavarian folklore bearing horns, dark hair, fangs, the anti-Saint Nicholas. So basically, what Krampus was, if you were a bad kid, if you were on a naughty list,
get that switch.
Krampus would come and beat you with a birch switch.
Yes.
He would bring a birch stick.
Yes.
And he would smack the shit out of you for being a bad kid.
You hear that, Ollie?
And then they expanded on it, and he would haul all bad kids down to the underworld.
Mm-hmm. Which I suppose is what happens to bad kids if they die. So
in 2015, Krampus finally got that spotlight in Hollywood that I thought he deserved. Like I said, it's not the best movie. It's a little absurd to be scary, but it's entertaining,
Yeah.
and I usually watch it around this time of year.
Yeah.
So,
as you should. I mean, it's Krampus.
Yeah.
So
you're number 9.
So a lot of these ones at the end aren't really in like an order. Like some of them are put where like they're supposed to be, and some of them are just like, well,
That's fine.
I like this one, so I'll put it in here. Which is kind of like what happened with the end, and then
I switched mine around
towards
after
the
we got
middle.
together here and
Yeah.
and put them more in order, but I'm not happy with the order, so I'm the same boat.
Yeah. So number 9 on my list is The Ice Queen. It was an animated film, I think from the 50s or something like that.
Wow.
It was like an older animated film that I remember somebody, I think Grammy or Pop, copied it on like the VHS copier, like when it was on TV.
So commercials in it.
Yes. I remember watching that one, and on that same VHS tape is my number 8 as well. So I'm just going to mention it now.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Do them both.
One side is The Ice Queen. I believe that's the name of the title of the film. And then the other side was always Heidi.
Heidi, really?
Heidi, yes.
You're going like really retro on your movies. That's awesome.
They were some of my favorite movies, and I remember watching them in the little side room over here where the art room is now. There was the big comfy couch was in there.
Yep.
That's where I would always sit and watch movies, and I just remember watching those two. And then The Brave Little Toaster was on one of those as well.
Oh, yeah.
I watched The Brave Little Toaster all the time, and I watched it all the time.
Oh, I got sick of The Brave Little Toaster.
I love Brave Little Toaster. But those two are very, very good. So The Ice Queen is something of like I don't remember. I don't think it was a Disney movie. But it definitely should have been. I'm pretty sure it was not, because Disney does not have an Ice Queen. Elsa was potentially going to fill that role in Frozen, fun fact, and she didn't do that. She ended up being a good guy. But this movie is about these two siblings, these two children. Oh, the Snow Queen, that's what it is.
Oh, Hans Christian Andersen.
It's a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, but it was an animated movie. I don't remember who did it.
Okay.
But it's the Snow Queen. And
Snow Queen.
It's about these two siblings, a little girl and a little boy, and they're siblings.
That reminds me. I am sorry to interrupt.
You're okay.
I'm just Johnny Jump Ahead or Johnny.
Of course.
Interrupt us.
Mm-hmm.
The Hans Christian Andersen movies I used to always watch at Christmas too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what they were, but
The Snow Queen was probably one of them. It's a little boy and a little girl.
Soviet animated musical fantasy.
I don't think it was that one. It definitely was in color.
One?
It probably was that one. That looks like it is.
1960.
1960. There you go.
I bet you I did watch that.
It's very good. It's about two siblings. One of them is poisoned by the Ice Queen, the Snow Queen, and I think it's the little boy, and he's essentially like turning to ice or something like that. He's becoming evil. Right? He gets like pierced with one of her icicles, and he's becoming evil.
I do remember it now.
And the little girl, and I think there's like a deer or some sort of like forest pet or animal that's with them. That's with the girl, but one of them tries to save the other essentially, and
it's Bambi, and right if it runs away, it gets shot.
Yeah. But it's very, very good. And then Heidi is about a little girl who goes to live with her estranged grandfather in the woods, in the Alps, the Swiss Alps.
Was that Shirley Temple?
Mm-mm.
Sure?
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Heidi's Shirley Temple. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a Shirley Temple movie. It was one of my favorites growing up when I was a kid.
You used to, what was the other one you used to always watch, a Shirley Temple one, the curly...
Alphabet Soup.
Was that it?
Animal crackers in my soup.
Yeah, but it was...
I can't remember what the name is, though.
I forget the name of the movie.
Yeah.
Curly something?
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
But I loved that movie. So she goes to live with her weird grandfather in, like, the Swiss Alps or something, like in some sort of German-speaking Alpy area.
Probably Austria or Switzerland.
Probably Austria, yeah, or Switzerland.
It was part of Germany at one time, doesn't matter.
So she goes to live with him, and somehow, somebody comes up and essentially decides that he's not fit to take care of her and tries to take her away back to the city. And he goes through this entire movie trying to get her back and, kind of trying to, essentially changing as a person, being to more what you would think of like as a grandfather figure, to be able to take care of her, essentially, because he was just an old man living in the Alps or the forest by himself. And he got stuck with this little girl. He had no idea how to take care of her, so they took her away, and he was sad when she left, and he was genuinely becoming to love her and take care of her in a proper way. And, and eventually in the end they're reunited and they have a happy story, but he goes through a lot, going into like a city by himself where he doesn't really know what to do. But that's a really good story too. And I used to watch that one all the time. And I thought that deserved a spot on my list because it was, it takes place in like that same kind of like wintry scenery.
I'm so glad you were with nostalgic films.
Yeah.
Like that because, number one, that's what this was supposed to be about. Number two, like, you're going back for even farther than me.
They're just movies that I remember watching.
But that's because Grammy always watched them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So my number 9 is Gremlins. And if you are not seeing a pattern, this is a 1984 American comedy horror film.
I have one of those right here.
I know you do.
Sweet little gremlin boy.
It draws on the legend. Again, if you haven't seen Gremlins, what is your problem? Like, Gremlins is an iconic movie. It's
an
not
iconic 80s movie, let alone just movie in general.
It's associated with Christmas only because it was a Christmas present that he got.
Right.
But, so they always played it around this time of year.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, look what you might get.
It draws on the legends of folkloric, mischievous creatures that cause malfunctions, gremlins, by the British Navy. The British Royal Navy used to call anything that, when there was a malfunction on the Navy ship, the British Navy ship, they would say gremlins caused it.
Yep.
And that's where the gremlin came from.
Gremlins cause all the issues.
I'm sorry. Not the Royal Navy, the Air Force,
yeah.
Royal Air Force. Actually, the Royal Navy did too, so. And it goes back to World War II. Howie Mandel was the voice of Gizmo, who was the main Mogwai character.
I just put that together.
What?
Those are in Fallout.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I put it together.
The story follows a young man who receives a strange creature as a pet. Actually, his father went to buy it from the Chinese store, and the owner of the store wouldn't sell it to him, and then his grandson sold it to him, saying, "Okay, I'm gonna sell it to you, but there's some rules that go with this thing." So a Mogwai is Cantonese for a devil, and the 3 major rules was: do not expose the Mogwai to light, especially sunlight; it'll kill it. So any bright lights or sunlight, bright lights will blind it, and it'll shriek back. Sunlight will kill it. Do not let it come in contact with water. And above all, never feed it after midnight.
Uh-huh.
Of course, all rules are broken. Mayhem ensues. And the end of the day is saved by sunlight. That's all I'll tell you. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Go see it. They're good movies. And then your number 8.
My number 8 is Black Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
1974. It is a B-horror slasher film.
Good movie.
Canadian slasher film. It was inspired by the urban legend of the babysitter and the man upstairs. Do you know that one? So the babysitter's babysitting.
Is that
the phone rings.
Who's in the house? Like,
yes.
Wrong number and
the phone rings
like
and she picks it up. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
It rings again. Picks it up. Nobody's there. Picks it up. Nobody's there.
Yeah. Like,
and then she hears
you're
something.
picking your nose, Sydney.
Yeah. And then she calls the police. Can you trace this line? And then they call her back and say, get out of the house. The call's coming from in the house.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah. I hate that. It's in the house. I hate that one. I don't like that.
So that was the original 1974. It was remade in 2006 and 2019. You know how I feel about remakes.
I know.
However, they held pretty close to story on the remakes.
Yeah.
So they just modernized it. There was a little modernization beyond that. All 3 of those movies took place in a sorority house. So an unseen man climbs the exterior of a sorority house where there's a Christmas party being held, enters the attic. Phone rings. Jess answers the phone, discover an obscene phone caller. and the same person has called before just calls the other sorority girls. They listen to the call. They make fun of them. There's some there's some banter back and forth. Barb insults the caller, and then the caller says, "I'm going to kill you."
Classic. Classic stuff.
So there's a bunch of murders.
Of course.
I have a lot on this one because I really like this movie.
I want to say I
have way too much on this one. So
I told somebody the other day that I wanted to watch Black Christmas this year. And they were like, "Oh, what's that?" And I was like, "A bunch of white girls die."
Yeah.
That's the best way to interpret this movie.
So one of the first people who's killed isn't discovered till like close to the end of the movie.
Which I love when that happens in movies. I hate when it happens in real life. Like, I hate that. That's so nasty and rude. Yeah. But, like, in movies, that just gets you.
So, if you have not seen this, you can watch any of the three. I recommend the 74 version because it's just a better movie.
Very much how I feel with Pet Sematary. A little bit off topic here, but that's how I felt with Pet Sematary. I didn't dislike the remake. I liked it, but it
wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same. Stephen King films, they do really, really well with that campy, like, TV horror.
Yeah. Yes. And there's nothing wrong with campy films.
I love them.
Campy films are great.
But you know what? That's exactly what I said, too, when we were trying to figure out which one we wanted to watch, because my friend and I decided we might want to watch this one in the next coming week. And she was like, my boyfriend's trying to download it. Which one do you want to watch? And I was like, honestly, I don't think any of them are bad choice from what I'm reading. But I feel like the 74 might have a little bit more of that, more campy style horror. And that's just so good.
And the other ones aren't bad. I didn't see the 2006. No. I saw the 2019. And it wasn't bad, but it was not my jam.
Yeah. I told her to just download whichever one you guys get and we'll watch it. No problem.
Give me 1 second. I got to fill my glass.
Okay.
You are number 7.
Yeah, I am at number 7. So I'll go ahead with my number 7, which is another classic, A Christmas Carol. I did it. I put A Christmas Carol on here, but I'm specifically thinking of the animated version, which I think was Disney or 21st Century Fox or something like that. One of those two. It was really, really good. I remember watching it as a kid every single year. It's a Christmas Carol. It's a classic. It goes through the story of Scrooge. Christmas of past, present, and future spirits. And I don't want to go too far into it because I know you have a similar one coming up. Not exactly the same, but it goes along the same lines. So it goes through, this one is more of like the classic story, like the classic, like early 1900s, late 1800s vibe, Victorian style.
I actually love that cartoon.
I love it too. It's one of my favorites.
Especially when that little kid is carrying that big fat goose.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's so,
you
so
see
good.
His little feet in his hands holding the biggest goose I've ever seen.
Yep, and I owned it on VHS. So no matter what, regardless of if it was on, ABC or Disney or whatever it was, I watched it because it was one of my favorites, which is why I owned it. And it's not... it's just so good. Like, it has, like, this creepy nostalgia vibe to me. Like, I remember it kind of being a little bit creepy when I was a kid because, you have Bob Marley with the chains, and it's, like, a little bit creepy. Like, oh, like, what did he do? How did he make his friends so mad? Why does he hate him now? And, seeing it for the first time, I remember really, really enjoying it, and it had a little bit of that creepy vibe. But it wasn't so much that it, like, terrified me or scared me, but maybe as, like, a kid, I was kind of like, ooh. Hiding with the blanket a little bit.
So, most of the Christmas Carol movies...
Oh my gosh, it's the same number.
I know.
That's so insane.
Is Ebenezer Scrooge.
Mm-hmm.
So, my number 7, and that is odd that they're both the same, is the movie Scrooged, which there have been many adaptations of the 1843 novella, A Christmas Carol, by Charles Dickens.
Right, and I forgot to mention that. It was by Charles Dickens, and that's why it takes place in that era.
But for me... Scrooge is the best one. 1988. Again,
Scrooge is good.
Keeping with my theme of 80s, 70s, and 80s movies.
Yep.
Bill Murray. Now, they changed the story.
A little bit.
Bill Murray plays the part of television executive Frank Cross. And he's pushing his staff to work through the holidays to put on a live broadcast of a production of A Christmas Carol. Which, it's A Christmas Carol and A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
on Christmas Eve. The warning ghost was his mentor, the same as in the cartoon and in the other versions you see on TV. But he was a TV executive as well. And he comes to warn him the errors of his way. Hey, I did this my whole life, and I know you want to be just like me, and you are now. And you know what?
That's great.
If you keep going on, you're going to end up with me with chains and golf balls falling out your mouth. And so the ghost of Christmas Past, which I love, comes in the form of a crazy New York taxi driver.
So perfect.
Yeah, and he played a good part.
Yeah.
The ghost of Christmas Present was a clumsy yet violent fairy who hit him every chance he got.
Yeah.
She got. And the final again was the Grim Reaper. Shows Christmas future.
Essentially, just reverberates what his mentor had told him.
So Karen Allen plays Frank's long lost love, Claire. And in the end, of course, Frank sees the error of his ways, reconnects with his love, and all is happy. But there is so many shenanigans.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
He fires someone on Christmas Eve. The guy comes back with a shotgun, which, again, in today's world, is a touchy topic.
Yeah.
It's a very touchy topic.
Yeah.
But this is absolutely my favorite version of A Christmas Carol.
And I think it's regardless of being a Christmas staple like we had talked about before, deserves a spot on the list because it's that story, the story in general of A Christmas Carol is just so perfect, and it deserves that spot on the list. That
in any form.
Yeah, exactly.
Cartoon. It embodies this entire time of the year. Everybody tries to be a better person around Christmas.
Right. So it's
you still have those people who are just like, you know what, F you.
It's almost
Christmas,
like metaphorical.
Yeah.
So it's number 7. I agree. I thought it definitely was like a middle of the road kind of choice. Like, I love this movie, and I know I always watch it, so it's going to be a little bit higher up.
Yeah.
But it's one of those staples, those classics. So it's like, okay, well, this is pretty much on everybody's list.
Yeah. And well, Scrooge may not be.
No, but
I love Bill Murray.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, like, he's also in Groundhog Day, so he has 2 holiday movies.
Yes, he does.
That he plays, like, some sort of unfortunate soul.
Yeah. Look, Groundhog Day.
God, so insane.
I love that. So what's your number 6?
My number 6 is another kind of, like, middle-of-the-road movie that was on. It's on Christmas. It's on New Year's. It's on, like, it's like a Harry Potter kind of movie. Like, they play it for almost everything now, I feel like, but it's Star Wars. The Star Wars saga.
Oh, yeah.
They play Star Wars. That's when the movie's released.
A full day of Star Wars, which is awesome.
Full day of Star Wars, and that's when the movie's usually released. There were 3 or 4, maybe 3 good Christmases where I was going to see Star Wars around Christmas time because they did 7.
Yeah.
And then they did their
1, 2, and 3 came around Christmas.
Well, yeah, but then I just mean not even that long ago. Not even that long ago, I just bopped him in the nose.
Poor buddy.
Not even that long ago, when they were releasing all the new ones, they just kind of always fell around December 19th.
It's a big time of year for movies to come out.
And a lot of people go to movies after they celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
Sometimes the movies are open. There are things that open on Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. It's a time of the year when everybody's together, everybody's around.
So this would have made my list, but it's more of an honorable mention for me because I will watch them.
I watch them anytime.
Now, in the Star Wars realm, you have people who hate some of these movies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I honestly do not hate any of these movies.
I don't think so either.
I think they all tell part of a story, and I love them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are not very well done, and
there's characters that might not be as good as others, but
they could be different. But
genuinely, just love them.
I love them for what they are.
Yeah, me too.
So anybody who doesn't like them, don't email me. I don't want to hear about it. I don't care.
It's like, that's cool. That's your opinion, but I really love these movies. Even, I love Jar Jar Binks. Okay,
idiots.
Listen, you're gonna get 20 more because I love Jar Jar Binks. All right, I had a Jar Jar Binks stand at one of the cutouts that I had, the standees.
I know.
I had a Jar Jar Binks. I loved him. I think he was, he did his job. He was put in the movies to grab kids' attention, and I was a kid, and he grabbed my attention. I love him.
I like Jar Jar Binks too. He was annoying,
I would love if they did the theory where Jar Jar Binks is actually the leader of the Sith army.
That's
He's actually the big emperor, the big man. That would be a funny one. That was one that was going around when they started remaking, or when they not remaking them, but when they started pulling them out again.
so. If you don't know the story of Star Wars, I'm gonna give you a synopsis.
So good,
Get a life.
so good. Just
I do actually know people who've never watched Star Wars.
it's true, and if you're interested in it, it is a sci-fi fantasy. I would say it's a sci-fi high fantasy because they use what's called the Force, which is essentially like a magic power.
Mhm.
They have like telekinesis, telekinetic abilities, stuff like that.
Special fighting skills.
Special fighting skills. They're almost like a super soldier kind of race. And they go around the universe in this other reality, maybe. There are there's the light side and the dark side, and if you're into reading, you can read the extended universe, which also goes over Grey Jedis, and you can argue that there are a few Grey Jedis in the series on the light side.
Well, there was a Dark Jedi series of
and
comic
a Dark
books.
Jedi series. Yes, there are also comic books. So there's a lot of different ways to intake this form of media. It's really, really big in any kind of nerd or geek community. I don't know. In any community that's into that kind of stuff, the fantasy community especially, a lot of people write their own characters. It's really good, and I feel like it has a little bit of something for everyone. I think there's at least one character that you're going to like, and ultimately, if all you do is watch The Mandalorian and love Grogu, Baby Yoda, that's good enough for me because that was a good series as
I
well.
always called him Baby Not Yoda because I knew it was not Yoda.
It's not Yoda. His name's
Grogu.
But he is a sweet little baby angel, and I do love him, and he does remind me of my little gremlin. So if that's the only thing that you're going to watch,
Me and Katie watched
Do it.
Mandalorian together.
Mandalorian was really good. But that one's a good one as well.
So, my number 6 is an Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis movie, Trading Places, 1983.
It's so good.
I love this movie. It is loosely adapted from the Mark Twain 19th century novel, Prince and the Pauper. Brothers Randolph and Mortimer Duke, who actually show up in another Eddie Murphy movie later on, own a commodities brokerage firm, Duke and Duke Commodities Brokers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So a lot of this takes place in Philadelphia. They make a nature versus nurture wager. They take one of their most loyal employees, who is very successful, Louis Winthorpe III, which is Dan Aykroyd, and they frame him for theft, disgrace him, and cast him out of the company.
That's kind of what happened to Dan Aykroyd in general with his career.
Yeah. They froze all his assets, so he had no money. And then they went out to the street and found a street hustler named Billy Ray Valentine, which was Eddie Murphy, and they took him out of the gutter, propped him up, got him started in the commodities game, and he was very good at it. So Lewis teams up with a prostitute, which is Jamie Lee Curtis, and he's trying to get his life back. He runs across Billy Ray Valentine. He gets on board, and they decide that they don't like being played as pawns. They turn the table on the Duke brothers and end up breaking them and making $1 million for themselves. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but the other Eddie Murphy movie that the Duke brothers are in, do you know what it is?
Wait. Which one? Oh, man, no.
He's walking down the street with a bag,
Mm-hmm.
and he had stuffed money in the bag,
Mm-hmm.
and he hands it to two bums on the street.
Oh, my God.
Not Trading Places. Shit, no, I can't remember the name of the movie.
Oh, no. John!
No. What was it? He's from Zamunda, the Princess Zamunda. What the heck's the name of the movie?
I know exactly which one it is.
I can't remember it. Anyway, he's walking down the street with that bag full of money. He hands it to two bums on the street. And they open up the bag, and he says, Randolph. It's Mortimer. Mortimer Duke. Randolph. We're back.
Coming to America.
Coming to America. So and it's the same two guys who played Randolph and Mortimer in Trading Places, which I thought was cool as shit. Anyway, I love this movie. It's funny as hell. There's lots of humor in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you recognize when I say when I always say yeah. Well, that comes from this movie. The one point that the big black guy standing behind the other black guy, when he says something, he goes, yeah.
That's really funny because
and you ain't messing with no jive turkeys here.
That's what the gig at work says.
Yeah.
Because he's very effeminate. We won't go in any further, but yeah, very effeminate and like drag queen effeminate, and he just will look at you like dead straight face and just go, yeah, like really, really deep voice, or he'll go, sup.
Sup.
And it's so funny. I love it every time he does it.
Number 5.
So number 5 is one of those 4 and 5 aren't those floating spaces for me. Okay. Because 4 and 5 for me are Rudolph and Frosty, the stop motion animations.
Okay.
Those two I feel like could be filled with.
Well, Frosty wasn't stop motion.
No, right, the animated version.
Right.
I want a Frosty anime. That'd be so insane.
So, just to preface this, I have these as honorable mention. They were on my list, and I removed them
because they're the staples.
Because they're staples, and
every year.
But I had them on my list because, and I'm just going to run through this real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt.
You go ahead and do that.
The nostalgia that I have for these movies.
Exactly.
The Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer is 1964. So it was, when I was old enough to remember this, I was 11 years old. Or not, I mean, it was 11 years old.
Yeah.
I was about 6 when I first saw it, I think, that I remember it. The other one was 1969, and so it was a little bit newer. But I love the stop-motion animation of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Just the animation style of Frosty.
Yes.
It's like what you would imagine coming out of like the early 70s. And I love it. It has like that style, like everybody has a 70s outfit on.
It's animated, but it's also close to stop motion.
Yeah, it has like a very like 3-dimensional kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Very good.
I love both of these movies. And the reason I love them is because not only do you love them, but so does Nathan.
Yeah, we've watched them since we were born. I have them on DVD. It comes with the little drummer boy. Yep. It has all those different ones, and that's why I put these 2 on my list here. So I'll do the 4 and 5 thing.
I could have kept them on easily.
Absolutely,
I removed them.
They just kind of, for me, they represent all of those movies because
and all the generations in this house like these movies. We actually just watched the second Frosty.
Yeah, we watched that the other day. Frosty's wife, Crystal. Yeah, we just watched that one the other day. And we watched Jack Frost the other day. Yep. And these 2 just kind of represent all of those movies for me. The one with the Heat Miser.
Yes. I'm Mr. Heat Miser. I'm Mr. Sun.
Love it.
I'm Mr. Something Something. I'm Mr. 101.
Yep. I love those movies. They have catchy tunes. They're great for kids and adults. It's just like it's one of those wholesome, good family movies. And that's why I put both of them on my list.
You want to read the synopsis? Yeah,
so we'll do that. Frosty, so we'll start with Frosty.
You could skip to being the child of the 70s because you're not. I am.
Yeah. Frosty's is an animated Christmas special. It was made in 1969. A discarded magic top hat brings to life a snowman that a group of children made until a magician, Professor Hinkle, wants it back. It's his hat. And the temperature starts to rise. So Frosty is going to melt. He's no longer going to be a jolly soul. And if the kids can't get him away from Hinkle in the warm weather, so he's going to die if that stuff happens, if they can't get him away from him. So they put him on a train to the North Pole with the little girl Karen.
Yeah. I don't remember what happens then, but
Karen gets sick from the cold.
You're right.
And he has to bring her back.
Yeah.
He sacrifices himself, and then eventually, the magics that be decide that he's a good soul, he deserves to live, and they reanimate him back in the North Pole. And he says, I'll be back again someday, and then he comes back for a sequel with his wife.
Right. Now, Rudolph
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is a stop-motion animation special from 1964. So
I kind of wrote this for me.
yeah, so
I'll read it.
This is everything that we just talked about.
You know the story. This show was beloved by me, my oldest daughter, and my youngest child. In the end, the one being bullied saves the day for everybody. It's a heartwarming story.
Yep.
You got an abominable snowman.
Yep.
You got
The
misfits.
elf.
You have a dentist.
Yeah, he's an elf, but he wants to be a dentist.
Right. You have the Island of Misfit Toys.
Yep.
There's just so much in this
Island of
movie.
Misfit Toys is so good, and the song that they sing.
Yes. And so in the end, all the Misfit Toys find a home.
Yep. He gets to be a dentist.
And Rudolph guides this, and you guys all know the song.
You know the song, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
So that's what it is.
Yep, that is the little synopsis of Rudolph. But those, like I said, those two just kind of encompass all those different kinds of movies for me that I would normally watch around this time of year. And I didn't really put Harry Potter on this list, but I feel like if we just put Frosty, Rudolph, and those at 5, Harry Potter could probably take 4 for me.
Yeah, I agree. Because
they don't really need 2 spots, but it wasn't functioning in my brain.
Not only do we watch them this time of year every time, we've gone to the theater for all the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, I've seen all the Harry Potters in theater,
So my number 5 is nowhere close to a Christmas movie, although Christmas is mentioned in this movie. So I'll make it a Christmas movie. The Great Escape. If you have not seen The Great Escape, I recommend you check it out.
I don't know that I have.
I
drop one of these every time we talk about movies.
I'm hurt.
It's your fault, bro.
I'm hurt. This is James Gardner, Steve McQueen, James Colburn, David McCallum.
Old people.
All old people, but all great actors from that time. It's about a Nazi POW camp that's mostly British prisoners. There's a few Americans in it, and there's a couple points in this movie that really stand out to me. Number 1, it's based loosely on a true story.
Right.
Number 2, the Americans in the camp at one point make moonshine. And they make it for the 4th of July.
That's so funny.
Which
is where it's supposed to be drank.
Which is ironic because they're all British.
Right.
And they're American.
Right.
So they go around and they're playing the Yankee Doodle Dandy on a flute.
Which is so funny.
And they're marching with the moonshine. And they come out and they start, and everybody's like, whatever, it's moonshine. So they're all drink moonshine.
Yankee Doodle Dandy always brings back so many memories because I've explained it to several of like my overseas friends. Like I've sang the song to them, the Yankee Doodle Dandy song. Sang Yankee Doodle Dandy to them, and they're just like, this is so ridiculous.
Yankee Doodle Dandy was an insult to Americans.
Yeah.
And Americans embraced it.
Absolutely.
I said, yeah, I'll be a Yankee Doodle Dandy.
And I actually used to have a friend who lived in the UK. I forget exactly where. It was somewhere like nearby London. I don't think it was in London.
Is that from when you went to Austria to play soccer?
No, this was like one of my video game friends.
Oh, okay.
But he lives in that area, and the one time I said something, I always used to call him a cheeky Brit because he would say funny stuff. And I'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're such a cheeky Brit, aren't you?" And he would say, "I don't know how I feel about that. Like it's almost an insult, but like it's coming from you, so I know that it's not." And
so I know it's from love, but
yeah. And I was like, "Well, you could always call me a Yankee if you wanted to." And he's like, "I would never call you that. You are not a Yankee." And I'm like, I thought that's just what I thought Americans were Yankees. He's like, it's such an insult, don't you understand? And I'm like, no.
But see, and that was, the Americans didn't care.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Go ahead, I'm a Yankee.
That's what it was supposed to be.
But The Great Escape is an awesome World War II movie, and I love World War II movies.
I do too.
Almost as much as I like horror movies. John actually turned me on. I watched The Band of Brothers.
Oh yeah, Band of Brothers.
Oh my god, it was freaking awesome.
So good. We watched part of that in our world history class in high school. We watched a little bit of that, a couple episodes, and we watched a couple minutes of it, and we watched a couple minutes of Fly Boys too. Fly Boys is really
Fly Boys is good. So, Great Escape. If you have not seen it, please take the time out to check this movie out.
Yes.
So I'm gonna skip number 4 because my number 4 was your number whatever.
10.
Blazing Saddles. We already went through that. So on my list, it's number 4. And that holds a very special place in my heart.
Yes, absolutely.
So we'll do your number 3.
My number 3 is something else that's nostalgic. It's nostalgic because I went up on the bus to see this with Grammy at the movie theater.
Lion King.
No. It's a Christmas movie. It is a Christmas movie. But we went up on the bus.
To New York.
No. We went up to the mall.
Okay.
We went to see Polar Express.
Oh. I intentionally didn't put this one on either.
Polar Express it means a lot to me. Nathan's favorite Christmas movie.
It is Nathan's favorite Christmas movie.
So happy. The Polar Express.
Yeah.
That's what he used to call it, the Polar Express.
And I didn't put it on my list because of that. Because if Nathan was sitting here, I know that'd be his number 1.
Absolutely. 100%.
He was so into trains.
He loved trains. So Polar Express, all about it. I loved it because at the time, I'm the older sister. I'm 8 years older than Nathan. So it was like, it's talking about, the magic of Christmas still living in you, even if you're not really sure, you're an older kid. And that kind of resonated a lot with me because, in first grade, Brittany is like, Santa's not real. And I'm like, what? Okay, stay cool. You're going to have a baby brother. And I just I took it and I ran with it. I just, whatever.
But Santa is real, so I just don't know what she's talking about. She's a little brat. I love Brittany.
Exactly. and for me, it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, well, I can still believe whatever I want to.
Exactly.
I can believe whatever I want to. I have a little brother, and he's going to have so many good Christmases, and I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to have a good Christmas, too. So I just kind of took that and went with it, and watching Polar Express was kind of like that for me. Like
so
it was
Polar Express is about the spirit of Christmas being lost and refining it as a child.
Yes. Maybe a child, I think one child.
Maybe some bratty little crappy girl in first grade said Santa ain't real.
Maybe.
Something like that.
Something.
Brittany, if you're listening, I love you.
I love you.
But I could have poked you in the eye for saying that.
It's a good memory now because now I remember it. And I was just talking about this with Isaiah the other day too. I remember in that kind of way now where it was like, it wasn't like so much of like a grown up thing for me to do, but like more like keeping my childhood, like I'm keeping that magic in my brain. Like, maybe Santa's not real, but that Santa's just the spirit of Christmas. Santa's just the spirit of giving to me and, family and just everything that comes around the holidays. So regardless of whether or not there is a Saint Nick or, some mysterious man that comes down your chimney, for me, it was more just keeping that magic alive. And that's, I think, why a lot of people find it very difficult around the holidays when they've lost somebody who's dear to them, because that's what the holidays are about.
Yeah.
And that's why I really love Polar Express. And I felt like it deserved to be in my top 3 for sure.
I feel like I need a slow clap for that.
Thank you. Whew. I didn't have anybody interrupt me that whole time, and it was beautiful.
Fucking John, where are you, bro?
I love it sometimes, but sometimes I'm just like,
Johnny, you could have taken away from that whole story.
You could have just been like, what the fuck are you talking about right now? I have no idea what you're saying.
Wait till I put the next short up. The next short up is the origami paper.
Oh my god.
I might put that up tonight.
But
I got to edit this tonight, because I want to get this out for tomorrow or next Friday, either one. I think it's actually next Friday.
Good. Yeah. Next Friday will be really good because it's the day before.
So my number 3 is another 70-ish film. I have always loved this movie. This is Cool Hand Luke. Paul Newman. 1967. He plays a laid-back inmate in a rural prison who routinely clashes with the COs. The film was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. George Kennedy was awarded an Academy Award for the Best Supporting Actor. An ex-convict wrote the book the film was based on and co-wrote the screenplay.
That's insane.
Despite his involvement in the screenplay and the book, he would later express disappointment in the finished product, and I don't get it, because this was a great Southern jail movie. I think it took place in Florida.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like North Carolina, South Carolina, but I think it's Georgia or Florida. And if you don't know this movie, check it out. Watch this movie. It's a great movie. But if you don't know this movie, you may know it and not know you know it. Because if you know Guns N' Roses, the song Civil War has a guy saying, "What we have here is fire to communicate."
Yep.
That whole line is from this movie.
Yeah.
And
the whole entire song.
when I heard Guns N' Roses pop that out in that song, I'm like, holy shit, I know that movie.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
It highlights the struggles of a labor camp. These guys were doing hard labor. And Paul Newman escaping several times. And having to deal with his mom passing away while he was in jail. There's just so many layers to this. There's comedy in it. There's drama in it. Of course, every prison movie portrays correction officers as pieces of shit, which in real life is not true.
It's an exception, not a rule.
I know it is an exception. I know people that I've worked with that should not have worked in a jail.
Which I feel like that's the way it is with all stereotypes, no matter what it is.
The majority of people I've worked with over 32 years in corrections are decent, hardworking, upstanding people.
Right.
The very few that haven't been there or don't meet that bar, I'm glad they're fucking gone.
Exactly, because they don't deserve to be there. Like, this is a role that you take on because you know that this is not necessarily supposed to be, but maybe should be more of like a reform instead of whatever power trip.
So, 1967, Cool Hand Luke. Love this movie.
Here we go.
So, you're number 2. Getting to the end.
I see what yours is, and I'm like, well, I have a little bit less to talk about for my number 2. My number 2 is another Christmas movie because it is something of a tradition for myself.
Okay.
Not necessarily that I do it with anybody else, but like...
And that's what this list is about. It's about R12.
Yep. Not necessarily that I have to share with anybody else, but just, whoever's with me or wherever I am on Christmas Eve, this is what I'm going to be doing. And I've kind of spent the past couple Christmas Eves playing video games with Isaiah, so he knows, like, we either watch The Grinch or we watch this movie. The Grinch is not the movie, but it is definitely an honorable mention for me.
That is an honorable mention.
Sure.
Which one, though?
Cartoon? It could be the animated. It could be either. Because I love them both, but I love the Jim Carrey.
Because it could be either for me, too.
Yeah.
But I always remember the cartoon.
I think 2 years ago we watched the cartoon. I
enjoy the cartoon.
It's so fun.
Jim Carrey version is funny, but he's so off the wall now.
Also, that's my favorite version of Mr. Grinch. And,
you're a mean one.
Yeah, I love that version.
Mr. Grinch.
So good. But my number 2 is Love Actually. I watch it every single year. I have the 10th.
You didn't tell me what your number 2 was, did you?
No.
Did you?
Yes, I said Love Actually, but I didn't tell you what number 1 was.
Okay. I'm not looking.
But my number 2 is Love Actually. It's one of my favorite films. I can't remember if it's this one or if it's another one. I think it's a different one that has Jack Black in it. And it's like the 2 sisters or the 2 friends swap places for the holidays. That could be a number 2 for me as well.
Oh, that's a good movie.
That could be a number 2 for me as well.
But that's almost Hallmarkish.
That's why I didn't really put it on. Right. And I think Love...
I do like that movie.
It's so good, and that one is a really good one as well. Love Actually made it, though, and Love Actually is a film that follows several tens of people, maybe like 10 people or so, that this
5 couples or
follows.
10 people?
Some of them are couples and some of them aren't.
Okay.
So it follows 10 people, and it's essentially a holiday story about finding love, coming to terms, having your dreams come true or having them crushed. It really looks at all different facets. So it follows a bunch of different people. There's a guy that goes away to write, and he has a Spanish-speaking maid who does not speak any English, but he falls in love with her. So he learns how to speak Spanish so that he can talk to her.
Listen to that, Bubba. Learn to speak Spanish.
Oh my gosh. And that's exactly, oh my God, I'm not going to lie. That's exactly what I thought of when Eric's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, actually. Because I love this movie. Keira Knightley's in it. She plays a really, really good role. She plays the role of somebody's fiance or wife. I think they just got married, wife. And a mutual best friend has been in love with her forever, never tells her anything. He comes to their door at night, holds up his little stereo, plays some music that's supposed to be like Christmas caroling.
Yeah, but
and has a little
you know what movie that's from?
What? Oh, the Boombox.
You know what movie that is?
I don't remember the name.
Say Anything.
Oh, Say Anything.
I love that movie.
Say Anything's good. I do love Say Anything as well.
John Cusack.
That's a good. John Cusack's really good. But he does that. He has like some cards telling her his entire story about how he's in love with her, and she is just kind of like, okay, gives him a kiss and then leaves. She's like, I'm gonna go spend this night with my husband.
Bye.
Yeah, later. Like, thank you so much. I appreciate you and I love you as a friend, but I don't really feel that way about you.
But I don't love you.
Plus, it has, some people coming home.
Unrequited love.
A little bit of everything. So it has something for everybody in there. It definitely is a romance movie. It does have really good holiday aspects as well.
Which is why it's not on my list.
I love it.
Good for you.
It is so good. I have the 10th anniversary ornament because I got it in like a special pack. Yeah.
I rolled my eyes.
Yeah.
I did roll my eyes.
You did. But I really love that movie, and I've watched it probably every Christmas Eve. Oh, man. For like over maybe a decade, something like that. Maybe, like 8-9 years, something like that. It's a Christmas tradition for me. I really enjoy it, and it's just a good movie. Maybe I don't see the whole movie all the way through. Maybe I play it when I'm going to bed and I fall asleep. I do that with movies. But it's something that I always make sure that I at least consume some part of every year. It's very, very good. I would say it's probably...
That's a very unlike me. I cannot start watching a movie and not finish it. Even if the movie's horrible. I have to see the end.
Well, we'll talk about
OCD
that when we
sucks.
get to my number one.
OCD sucks.
You'll see how bad it gets. But that's my number 2. I really love that movie. I cannot talk it up enough if you haven't seen it. What the heck is the guy's name that plays the dad in the Amanda Bynes movie? He's the guy who has the maid. He's like he's a bigger guy. I can't remember his name though. He's a British actor. He's really, really good. I can't remember his name, but he's in it.
Corden?
Maybe.
He
has dark, like brown hair.
James Corden?
I think so.
He does a talk show on BBC.
Maybe not him. I'll look it up. But
yeah, hang on.
He's in it. Keira Knightley's in it. There's another person. I forget who it is, but he's like a really kooky music man.
That guy?
No, not him.
Not James Corden.
Not James. I was like, no, I don't think so. Let me look it up and I'll tell you who it is.
Not Jimmy C. So I'm gonna. While you're looking that up, I'm going to jump to my number 2.
Oh, I have it now. Oh, it's a 2003 movie. I didn't even realize it was that old. Oh, it has Hugh Grant in it. Liam Neeson's in it. Colin Firth. That's who I'm thinking of. Colin Firth.
Colin Firth. That's right.
Yeah.
I have no idea who he is.
You know who Colin Firth is?
If I looked at his picture, I might know his face.
Yeah, Emma Thompson's in it. So it has a lot of... It's one of those star-studded movies.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really big people in it. Bill Nye.
The science guy?
No, the crazy music man.
Oh.
Martin Freeman, who... Oh,
Morgan Freeman's in it?
Martin Freeman, the guy who plays Bilbo.
It's Morgan's brother.
No, it's Bilbo.
Oh.
Bilbo Baggins. But his part is actually really funny in this. He plays a porn actor. He has, like, a really big penis. But, like, he's...
How do you know he has a big penis?
It's in the movie.
How the fuck do you know that?
Anyway, in the movie, he's supposed to be, like, really well endowed. Like, he has, like, a good motion and stuff for porn.
Endowed?
Yeah, for like porn and stuff.
Oh, my daughter, you cannot say shit like that.
Well, that's why I'm using these words instead of saying he's got a big dick.
What? You can't say that to your father? Holy shit!
But anyways, but they don't use his face. They use just like his midsection. They don't use his face because he's Bilbo. Like
okay.
You know what I mean? Just because he's like a shorter guy, but he actually, the girl that he's doing this scene with, they actually start talking and everything, and they actually form some kind of bond or whatever.
So he falls in love with a porn actress.
But he's also a porn actor.
Someone who's rode a dick carousel.
Yes. But that one's a really funny story, too. So there's a lot of really good actors in this, actors and actresses.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Love who you want to love.
No. But that one's a really good one, too. I think that is a very, very good choice. If you want to watch something you're going to recognize a lot more faces than I mentioned. I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that I'm recognizing scrolling through it, but it's a good pick for a holiday movie.
And for chicks.
For chicks, sure, but I feel like it's also really good to watch. Like,
I don't think it's really a dude movie.
It's not a dude movie, but I feel like it's.
But your list should not be a dude list. It should be a chick list.
Well, it should be my list.
A chick list.
But I feel like it could be like my ex-boyfriends have watched it with me, and I mean, I get it
because they had to.
Not really had to, but
you would have kicked their ass.
Okay, listen, I would have been like, "Why don't you want to watch Love Actually?"
I do. I really do.
There's another one. Oh my gosh, what's the one with Ryan Reynolds in it?
I like Ryan Reynolds.
I forget what the name. It's a Christmas movie. That's
a Christmas movie, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he's a really big rich guy. He comes back. It's like a Hallmark kind of story almost. He comes back, meets like his high school sweetheart. They end up falling in love and stuff.
Is that the Just Friends?
Just Friends, yes. That's another good one.
I don't know that one. Never heard of it.
That one is really, really good. I highly recommend that one.
All the reason I know is because I looked it up.
They live in like New Jersey, I believe.
Well,
so it's kind of like around this area. You might recognize some stuff.
So they're polluted.
Yes, but you might recognize some stuff. Anyways, that one is another one that could also be interchangeable with that kind of like rom-com Christmas movie for me with Love Actually. I think that one's really good too. And it has Ryan Reynolds in it. Something for every gender, because Ryan Reynolds is for every gender.
I do like Ryan Reynolds.
I like him.
He's funny. He's a decent actor.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but that's all I'll say about my number 2 spot.
My number 2. Michael J. Fox.
Yes.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yes.
If I say those two names together and you don't know this movie, you should not be listening to this podcast.
What was another movie that Christopher Lloyd was in?
He was in Taxi.
Was he in like one of like the...
He was in the TV show Taxi.
Nazi spoof movies?
Might have been.
I can't remember. Anyway,
Back to the Future. Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. It's a good one. It's a great one.
Again, 1984, classic. Mass appeal movie. Like, Nathan... And this is why this is on my list. Nathan was obsessed
with this.
With Back to the Future.
Obsessed with Back to the Future.
The whole series.
Yeah, he loved it.
Which, to me, like... Okay, I always say Nathan's first concert was Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that is...
It's that generational gap.
Like I've seen Motley Crue, like, 22 times.
9 times.
So, I've taken you to Motley Crue.
Yep.
And Nathan has seen Motley Crue.
Yep.
Like, that connection for me. So, Nathan loves this movie. I always loved it, too.
Mm-hmm. The third one is so funny.
Yeah.
With the cowboys.
Like, it's not as good as the first one.
No, but it's still funny.
But it is hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Like, they all have just, like, these...
It's a reoccurring story in each one of them.
Ridiculous time loops. It's so funny. Like, just, like, the shenanigans that they get into. There's hijinks. It's like, what's going to happen? It's so good.
So, it's timeless in its ability to capture an audience.
Absolutely.
It captured me. Mm-hmm. It captured you. Mm-hmm. It captured Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it as a teen. My 27-year-old daughters watch it. My 19-year-old son was obsessed with it for many years.
Oh, yeah. And I love them. I'm not obsessed with them by any means, but I do love them. I
actually entered an Omaze raffle for a DeLorean. And if I win it, I'm going to give it to Nathan.
Absolutely. He would love that.
He would shit himself.
Oh, my God, yeah.
So Marty McFly travels back in time in Doc Brown's DeLorean time machine. He meets Doc Brown in the day that he comes up with the way for time travel, the flux capacitor.
Yeah.
He runs into his father, almost makes out with his mother before his parents have met. There's a near fatal time paradox that almost changes the course of his own history.
That's what I love. I love time traveling hijinks.
Yeah.
Love myself some time traveling hijinks.
Which is one of the reasons I love Doctor Who so much.
Exactly.
But this movie, it's awesome.
It is. This series, these movies, any one of them, I think are iconic. I think that they really shaped the way that people talk about time travel and, you know, that extra sci-fi dimension type stuff.
Well, this took sci-fi. This movie took sci-fi and made it very mainstream.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about it, because then, you know, like things like Back to the Future, Star Trek, Star Wars, Lost, What was the other one that you used to read?
Can't think. I can't. It's
Stargate.
well, Stargate. Yeah, I love
all of them.
Oh,
like
Stargate, yeah.
you have all of these like really, really great things, and I feel like not that none of it would be possible, obviously, because some of it came before, but like it was all just opened up. Like everybody loved these movies.
See now I talked about Casey earlier.
Yeah.
Casey was Zach Lee when I was wrestling. The reason I got into podcasting was because of Casey.
Mm-hmm.
He had me on his podcast, Saturdays with Chicken Duck, and now he does another podcast, which is Deluxe Edition, yet another pop culture podcast. But I was talking to him, and we're going to do something together in the near future. But he told me that they're actually doing a Christmas movie podcast.
Nice.
Which is funny because I said, oh, I have the computer down in the studio tonight. We're doing a 12 movies of Christmas. He goes,
Yeah.
oh my God, we're doing it too. But the funny thing is most of my movies are pop culture movies.
Absolutely.
With the exception of like maybe Great Escape, which is just like a World War II type movie.
Right.
But like these are all 80s movies, 70s movies. In fact, my number one, which is absolutely hands down the best Christmas movie of all time, bar none, is from that era. So let's do your number one.
Do you want to do yours first? You seem very excited about it.
No, we got to wrap up the show with mine. Mine's the best one ever.
Oh, I don't think so, though. I think mine really should be last.
Before we do number one,
Before
we do number one, Elvis has something to say.
what was I was going to say?
I'll have a Christmas without you. John wasn't here to fuck it up this time.
Exactly, and it was really good.
Yeah.
So
Rock out your number one. Let's hear it. Now, we did go over our list, except I don't know her number one.
I already know what his number one is. It's
like hands down. Like everybody knows my number one.
Everybody knows his number one. My number one, though, I chose because you're gonna know what it is before I say it. I chose because it is my favorite movie of all time. It is something that I watch no matter what, any time of the year. Always constantly watching it. Don't ruin it. You already know what it is. I'm always constantly watching it. So for me, it's just always number one on my list. My favorite thing on the planet. And my number one is the Lord of the Rings series. It's always number one for me. It has the most nostalgia for me. I watch it all the time. I'm usually dyeing my hair around the holidays, and I always watch it when I dye my hair.
It could have made my list very easily. Love these movies.
They're so good. They're good. Ugh.
But I don't equate them with Christmas for me.
No, and
for you, that's fine. You dyeing your hair or whatever. Blah, blah, blah.
It's just what I do.
Be green or blue or Smurf or whatever.
It's just that's. I don't know when I got into the habit of watching any of the movies when I dyed my hair. I used to watch them. This is what I was saying. I used to watch them when I would try to go to sleep because I used to have a very hard. Well, I still do sometimes, but when I have a very hard time sleeping, I'll watch a movie that I know very well. So I have watched Fellowship of the Ring so many times. It is insane. Fellowship of the Ring and excellent movie. Oh my gosh, all of them. They're so good. I love the Hobbit movies as well.
Yeah.
I think they're all very, very well done. I think there's a lot of things that they could have put in the movies that they didn't. But ultimately, they did what they could with them. And honestly, one of my friends...
I've read these books before I've watched the movies.
Yes. I read them after.
And the movies are lacking from the books. But it's lacking for two reasons. Number one, you can never pack everything into a movie.
Yeah.
Number two, when I read a book, I visualize things a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And it will not always be the way the movie's presented.
Right. And that's exactly how I feel about it too.
But that being said, I loved watching their vision of these books.
Exactly. And one of my friends just sent me this today. I was looking for it so I could get the, what it actually said right. But it's like one of those nerdy facts, and it says, Peter Jackson originally pitched The Lord of the Rings as a 2-movie deal to Miramax, as he knew no studio would want to invest in three expensive films. In return, Miramax asked him to make it one movie, combine Rohan and Gondor into a single nation, make Boromir and Eowyn siblings, and lose the character of Saruman completely. He refused and took his idea to New Line Cinema, where he was told that 2 movies would not be enough. Instead, they would finance an entire trilogy. And I said, and bless him for that.
Thank God for that, because
I would, oh my gosh.
You would have screwed these movies up.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. You need that 3 separation for this one. But that's like something that I just, it's always in the forefront of my mind, like a lot of things that I love or that I do, I'll relate back to Lord of the Rings. It's one of my favorite things on the planet. But it's also something that I watch when I need a mood boost, when I'm doing something and I just want to listen to something that I know, because it's like I'll hear something, just a line, or I'll see part of a scene out of the corner of my eye, and then I have to watch this. Hang on. Like, I have to copy this. I have to say this line with this character. Every time Galadriel speaks, I swoon. I love
and that's exactly how I feel about my number one.
Which is why I decided that this was good enough to be my number one for my Christmas movies list. Because
and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I love it so much. It's my number one no matter what time of the year it is.
It's an awesome series of movies.
Absolutely.
Like, hands down, for me, loving that genre.
Yeah, and
and that was
it's just so
most of the books I've ever read have been fantasy science fiction.
Right.
And loving that and seeing those movies materialize was awesome. And I didn't know that they took it to Miramax.
Yeah, and I'm
so glad that Miramax said, F you, do this. And
I'm so glad it was Peter.
And I'm glad that New Line said, hey,
Jackson.
You know what? It's got to be 3 movies.
Yeah, Peter Jackson.
Because it needed to be 3.
It did, and he knew that, but he wasn't going to say it.
Well, now
you could say it in 10 movies.
They're saying 6-7 movie deal.
Yeah.
Like, all right, there's 7 movies, and we're going to capitalize on this. And
I will say I am excited to end this one off. I am excited to watch the Lord of the Rings Amazon special that they're doing. They're doing a new series.
I did not know that.
And I'm very excited for that. There's always some political thing with it. I think that the political argument with it was dumb this time. I think whatever they cast whoever as is going to be fine because it's a fantasy.
Right.
There are definitely different descriptions and stuff, but it all matches. Everything works.
I just posted this on something, and I don't like getting political, but
no.
Someone said something about General Neutral James Bond. And you know what? If you want a General Neutral character or movie, write one.
Yeah.
Why do you have to appropriate something else?
What I think is,
I don't get that. Like,
so here's
I don't care who's who,
right,
and what you are, and who you love. Do your thing. It's none of my business. It doesn't affect me.
Well, so the argument here was that somebody said, I don't understand why they're casting, and again, whatever, but the argument was, I don't understand why they're casting different races for, different real human races for,
Doctor Who?
No, for the Hobbits. And it's not like the Hobbits that we know, it's just Hobbits in general.
Right.
Right, it's the Hobbits in general. And
but why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't they? There are complete descriptions, right? There are complete descriptions written by J.R.R. Tolkien that say that there are darker-skinned halflings or darker-skinned hobbits. There are lighter-skinned hobbits. Some of them are short and fat. Some of them are, tall and lanky.
Don't hate on fat people.
No, exactly. But that's the thing is I thought, well, that makes sense to me. There are all these writings that they have different.
That makes sense,
right? And I feel like it would be cool for them to do a different. But James Bond story, but not James Bond. Like, it'd be cool for them to do a different 007 storyline where they might do something like that, but
somebody else. The Kingsman.
I love
Kingsman. And the Kingsman is coming out soon, and I will go see that.
Yeah.
The Kingsman is a James Bond-ish movie. But they changed everything for a new story, which I like. So James Bond has always been a womanizer. I don't care what color he is. But he's always been a womanizer. That is his niche. Shaken, not stirred, arrogant womanizer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, It doesn't work for a woman. I'm sorry.
See, to me, it makes me feel like, oh, I would love to see a woman in that role. Like, I would love to be that.
That's fine. So like, you do it like this last James Bond movie. But it doesn't. They brought a woman in. She was 007. Mm-hmm. But she was not James Bond.
And that's what I like.
Right.
I like that it's a different 007.
Like, people were up in arms about it. I had no problem with that. And when James Bond came back in, she goes, no, you take the 007 moniker. That's yours.
Right.
And I'm good with that. That's great.
That is a great way to bring a new, refreshing character into an old,
so maybe 009.
Maybe somewhat outdated franchise. I'm not gonna lie. It's a great franchise, but some of the ideals are somewhat outdated. Some of the ideals that like the characters possess.
You watch your mouth.
Okay. Anyways,
it's not antiquated or outdated.
When did Motley Crue become classic rock? When did Ozzy become an actor? But I feel like not necessarily like the story or anything like that, but just some of the ideals that maybe some of the characters or like the damsel in distress. I can see how that might be seen as antiquated now, but the point is that
was a character, and if you're not,
no, and that's what I mean. Like the point is if
you're not going to follow that, make a new movie.
Right. Like, and I feel like that's what they should. They shouldn't be James Bond movies.
Right.
This person should have their own identity. Why would you want them to be known as James Bond? We want them to stand out.
Right, exactly.
And that's what I like, the characters that stand out.
Don't appropriate something else.
It's not even
push a political agenda.
It's whatever if maybe like the creator wanted to do something. I mean, obviously we're not going to. Who wrote James Bond?
Oh my God, it goes back to the 40s.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, we're obviously not going to get an opinion.
James Bond, believe it or not, was based on an operation. The technical thing was based on an operation in World War II where they plunked a dead body with fake documents in it in the ocean by Italy so the Germans would find the body. That's where 007, that's where like the concept came from.
So, I mean, but what I'm saying is, like, obviously, like, we can't talk to the creator of 007 like we can talk to, the creator of something else, like Iron Man. Maybe not Iron Man. that was a bad one. But
Fleming.
What? Ian Fleming.
Ian Fleming.
Yeah. But, like, we're not really going to have that same opportunity. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one thing if, like, for instance, they redid, what did they redo? And I said, they redid one of my favorite animes. And they redid
Doesn't
it.
It suck when they do that?
No, listen, I loved it. I loved it. They redid it.
You're not my daughter.
They did a different art style. And they followed the manga more heavily, which is like following the book more.
Okay, well, that's
right?
Not really. It's going back to its roots.
Right, but this is what I mean. Like, they changed it all, and I have friends who just will not watch it because they have desecrated this anime that we love. And I'm over here saying, listen, I think this is nice. I love them both. I'll rewatch them both. I think they're both great. The anime is Fruits Basket for anybody who might care, which I know you don't. Ugh. But it's called Fruits Basket.
I know.
It's so
I remember
good.
you reading those.
It's so good. I've read all the manga. I've seen both of the animes now, and I love them both. And I love them both for different reasons. And I feel like we can do that. Like, we can love both for different reasons, but at the same time, like, nothing's ever going to beat that original. That's
where I'm at.
And same thing with the Sailor Moon remakes, because I've watched Crystal now, and I've watched, obviously, the original Sailor Moon and the movies and, what have you. And Sailor Moon Eternal, which is a new movie that just came out in June, is very, very good. But for me, it's, the nostalgia in that old movie. Like, nothing's ever going to beat that old series for me. The theme song is different in both of these animes, and, the remakes are all different, and that's fine. And I love their new themes and their new monikers and, whatever. I love all the new stuff just as much as I love the old stuff. But for me, it's like, well, Sailor Moon, I've been watching. It came out in 1992. I could have been watching it since I was born. I don't know. But I've been watching it since I can remember, 3, 4. And I'm never going to hate. There's a couple different Sailor Moon dubs that came around. I'm never going to hate that original English Sailor Moon dub where Sailor Moon's best friend, she was called Serena in the English dub. Her name is Usagi in the...
You're soggy?
Usagi.
You're soggy.
Usagi. Anyways, it means rabbit. She's called Serena in the American version, and her best friend's name is Molly. in the Japanese version, her name is Naru. Well, Molly Molly has just like this insane, like really thick Brooklyn accent, and she's Serena, and you can't
Serena.
and I will never forget it. I will never forget Naru's voice, and I will never lose the love that I have for those. And I'm in a bunch of different Sailor Moon groups and stuff on Facebook, but there's always
That is
like
so cool.
I know, there's so much back and forth about it, about who loves this and who loves that, but it's like only the kids that grew up watching Sailor Moon and Cartoon Network in America that remember this version, and we all have just like this nostalgic love for it. It's like an entire section of the fandom, and that's kind of how I feel with stuff about.
Well, here's what I remember about Sailor Moon.
About that.
When you were younger,
Yes.
at Christmas, we bought a bunch of stuff, Sailor Moon for you. And
I just posted about this the other day.
And the person never sent it.
Yeah.
And I actually got a
scammed
call.
on eBay.
I got a call from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Yes.
Because of this.
Yes.
And the person, whoever it was, got charged. We never got our money back. They got charged.
Yeah, charged.
So the Sailor Moon clock that you were supposed to get when you were 6 years old.
Thanks, whoever did that.
You have to look online for it. And her ponytails, when the alarm went off.
I think I did eventually get one. I think it was like, I think you were supposed to get it. You tried to order it for me for Christmas, and I think I got one for my birthday or something like that. I do remember having one. She was so adorable, and I wish I still had that stuff. It's probably in the...
It's probably worth money.
Probably, and it's probably in the... I think her pigtails broke.
Brat.
If it's still in the... I doubt it is, because Mom would throw it away if it was broken.
Belly.
Probably. But it might be in the garage, and if I find it in the garage, I could... If the pieces are still together, which, like I said, it probably got thrown away. But if they were, I could fix it now.
Let's wrap this up with my number one.
Nothing will ever top the beautiful, beautiful things I've said during this episode today about acceptance and love and nostalgia. So I think we can just say that the episode ended now, but we're going to go ahead and do yours anyway.
No. Because the absolute, and this is 100%.
I'm rolling my eyes.
A Christmas movie.
We all know what it is.
I'm going to give you a synopsis, and I'll let you all guess what the movie is.
Don't say any actors' names.
New York City policeman John McClane is visiting his estranged wife and his 2 daughters on Christmas Eve. He joins her at a holiday party in the headquarters of Japanese-owned business she works at, Nakatomi Industries. But the festivities are interrupted by a group of terrorists who take over the exclusive high-rise and everyone in it. Very soon...
Wait, let me guess the movie. It's Taken.
No. McClane realizes there is no one to save the hostages but him. The movie, I'll give you
Mission Impossible.
2 seconds to comment below what the movie is.
Oh my god.
Hold on. While you're commenting below.
Quantum of Solace.
No. Smack the like button. Because
Smack it.
You know you love this episode.
This was a good episode.
Because nobody interrupted me.
Nobody interrupted anybody.
Nope, there was no jump aheads.
There was a little bit of jump aheads. But a good jump aheads. And we had so many good discussions.
Yeah. There's going to be some breakouts from this and put as shorts. Especially a Sailor Moon rant.
Oh, it was so good.
The movie is Die Hard. Die Hard is the best, #1 all-time Christmas movie.
Die Hard's a good movie.
It's a Christmas movie.
It's a good movie.
Okay, let's get into it for a second.
We're going to get into it. It's going to be another short.
How is Die Hard not a Christmas movie?
I didn't say it wasn't. I just said it was a good movie.
He's visiting his wife for Christmas. Mm-hmm. They're at a Christmas party.
Mm-hmm.
There's Christmas killings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Christmas miracle.
A Christmas miracle?
Yeah, John McClane saves everybody's life.
That's not a miracle. He had to work for that.
Right.
Miracles are just given to you.
Hold it.
They're things that you didn't do anything for.
The odds were stacked against him.
Not a miracle.
It was a miracle. That whole roof was ready to blow with all those people up there, and he saved their life. That's a miracle.
That's fantasy. Let's be real here.
Alexander Lee. Do not make me go to the third name.
The third name. The third name.
Do not make me do it. Come on, this is a great Christmas movie.
I just think it's a good movie. Like, it doesn't have to be a Christmas movie.
You forgot Christmas.
But it doesn't have to be a Christmas movie to be a good movie.
It doesn't have to be a Christmas. This is a movie you can enjoy all year long.
Exactly.
About Christmas.
Like Lord of the Rings. It's not a Christmas movie, but we can enjoy it all year long.
Christmas isn't even mentioned in that movie.
Okay, first of all...
that's fine.
First of all, let me just throw this out there. Galadriel gives the Fellowship 3 gifts.
Right, but they were like gifts of, like, here's your quest.
No.
I want to help you. Here's a gift.
They were like...
It was not a, hey,
okay,
this is under the Christmas tree. Let's unwrap it.
Okay, let me...
Put your little brooch on.
Okay, everybody...
Have your little freaking orc sword.
This is now number 1 Christmas movie showdown because I have a theory. Galadriel gives them 3 gifts, right? They're following the Eye of Sauron to Mount Doom to destroy the ring, which is like giving the gifts to baby Jesus. And they have 3 gifts.
Okay. That's a stretch.
It was very good.
That was a stretch like if you're pulling taffy.
And you know what? Taffy's delicious, just like my theory.
Taffy is delicious. Your theory is okay, but flawed.
But
now,
my theory for a Christmas movie here is getting better.
Okay, but listen. Let's talk about Die Hard for a second. As a Christmas movie, Christmas party, Christmas travel,
Christmas travel. I mean, he traveled before Christmas.
Christmas gifts, and a Christmas miracle.
Okay. Just really quick, because we know the story of Jesus did not take place over the course of a Christmas Eve. It did take place over the course of months, much like the travel from the Shire to Mount Doom, or even from Rivendell to Mount Doom had taken. And very much, they presented the gift of the One Ring to the mouth of Mount Doom. And, to make it more interesting, they tossed in Gollum. And the miracle in my movie are the Eagles coming to save Sam and Frodo and taking them back to heal.
You have some interesting points.
Second miracle, Bilbo and Frodo go to the Undying Lands with the elves in the end of the movie.
Okay. Interesting points. I'm going to blow your whole theory up with one thing.
There's 2 miracles. There's literally 2 miracles in mine.
Okay. Your Christmas movie...
There's snow. There is snow.
...takes place in a land where there was never a Jesus. Mine takes place specifically over the time frame that is celebrated as Christmas.
The hobbits left.
Christmas is mentioned in my movie.
The hobbits left the Shire in September.
Nothing wrong with that. That is an Oktoberfest movie.
It's an October. So, okay. But then the other movies take place over the course of a very long time.
Right. Years.
Definitely.
It's years.
Yeah. So there's many Christmases that take place in those 3 movies.
So it's not specifically a Christmas movie. It's a year-miss movie.
A year-miss?
A year-miss.
A year-miss.
Listen.
And that is how I feel about The Hobbit and the
you know
Lord of the Rings movies. It is a year-miss movie.
It is a year-miss movie. Anytime. Die Hard takes place over Christmas. I'm right. You're wrong. Die Hard's the #1 Christmas movie ever.
This has been Take on the World.
Take on the World! And now you go take on the world because we did too. And we're back.
Reminds you of summer.
No bitterness.
It's a very good beach beer.
Take on the world, one beer at a time.
Our podcasts exist because of listeners like you. To find other great shows, head over to the Den.show. Thanks for listening.